this is Bear Claw Custom Carpentry. Today we're going to talk about scroll jig. Alright, what's a scroll jig, you might ask? Well, it is a tool that allows us to bend steel, either bar or round stock iron, to shapes that we can use in the shop, like for brackets, hardwares, or handles. The nice thing about this jig in particular is you do not need a heating element like a forge or any types of special anvils or anything along those lines. Again, if you're just getting off into either carpentry or woodworking, this jig allows us to take steel or wrought iron and create accent pieces that we can add to our workpiece, like a J-hook, S-hooks, or decorative scrolls that we can attach to our workpieces or around our houses. All right. The key to a scroll bending jig is the placement of the holes around the jig itself and the dies that we create. So this allows us to wrap our steel around and to create the arcs that we desire. Besides the round dies, you also use these pins, which are made out of a 1/2 inch hex bolt, like the one in the center here. And what it allows us to do is allows us to have a bend point, right? Either you can put them together as a pair and use those for free-form bending like blacksmiths do, or you can use them in accommodation with your dies, to help you to create custom shapes. So the series of this movie is to go over the process of actually how to build this. Most of it will be a montage of the work with little amount of talking. So in the description, I will put down the parts required for this project and a little bit of what you need to do to make this project itself. I have 3 pieces of 3/4 inch multi-ply plywood glued together in a 12 by 12 square. So I just cut this on the table saw to 12 inches, rotated 12 inches, cut it again. Again, made sure that my fence was square and perfectly accurate. So again, these corners are perfectly 90 degrees along with these 2 adjacent corners. Then from there, I found my center point. So exactly 6 inches in, 6 inches over, 6 inches in, 6 inches over. And then from there I took that and used as my 0, 0 origin. So that's where my center is going to be with my center die. So that's how I can wrap my steel around that. And then from there I did 2 different types of segments. So I did an inch spacing set to the left. I did an 1.25 inch spacing up, 1.5 inches. So these larger dots here to the right, and then 1.75 inches away from the center. So again, this is 1.75 inches, 1.5 inches, 1.25 inch, and then after that is an inch spacing between each. Then I have 2 sets of pins in all 4 quadrants. I got a 13/16, 11/16, a 1 inch and 1/16, and a 15/16. So that's the distance between both of these 1/2 inch pins. Now I have these bolts here. I did not have 1/2 inch pins. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the head of the bolt off and the threads and polish this up. And this is exactly, in machinist terms, it is exactly a 1/2 inch. 2 pins here. The thickness of them, if I take out my quick calipers real quick, is they're almost exactly a 1/2 inch. I mean, as close as you can get. But again, this is what we needed, was a 1/2 inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the diameter of this and match it with the drill bits that I used to drill out these holes. So these will be my pins throughout my scroll jig to help me pinch the piece of steel or the piece of iron I have as I'm bending it around my round templates, which will normally be placed in the center here or in different spacings around to create different shapes. All right. So my first priority is to get the holes drilled for my pins and my center column here at exactly 1/2 inch. All right. Once I've done that, I can flip it over, and on the bottom side, the bolt here, I'm going to put a washer. So I'm going to use a Forstner bit, which is a larger drill bit that allows me to slide this in here and then between that and the washer, I'll have a nice cushion for the bolt. So whenever I put tension on this, I won't bend the jig itself, all right? I'll be able to spread the tension out. So I got my drill bit. What I'm gonna do is just measure it real quick. This is a 1/2 inch, all right? Now, if I don't have a drill press in my shop, what I can do is I can put it in a cordless drill, all right? And if I want to drill my hole to a certain depth, and in this case, we wanna do 1 3/4 inch depth, right? I can hold my combination square right next to my drill bit, right? Hold my drill here and then put a piece of masking tape around that depth there. So I'm just gonna quickly wrap that just to show. It doesn't have to be pretty because it's just temporary. You want to create a flag like this. And the reason why is once I drill down to the depth that I want, obviously this isn't the correct one, it's going to be flapping against the surface right here. All right? And that will tell you to stop. All right? So you can use the masking tape and a cordless drill. The only caveat, especially for this jig, is you want to make sure that you're drilling as close to 90 degrees as possible. Now you could take a combination square, hold it here, to make sure that you're drilling as straight as possible, or you can eye it, but again, as straight as humanly possible. Normally, I would strongly suggest if you do have a drill press, that would be the most ideal way to drill out these holes. So, again, if you don't have the drill press and you would like to make a jig, you can use a cordless drill just like this. I'm going to take my key, put it into my chuck, and I'm going to tighten down my drill bit so it's nice and tight. Now, from here, I want to set it so my depth, again, is at 1 3/4 inch. All right. Go back, grab my combination square, bring it up next to the drill, and then bring it down to 1 3/4 inch. Now I'm going to take my locking nuts here on the side and bring it down to the maximum depth that I want. Yeah. Now, on newer machines, a lot of them have the depth marked, so you can actually set it to exactly 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 inch down exactly. But again, if you have an older machine or the measuring tool does not work, always rely on your combination square to make sure that, number one, you're drilling straight down, so the drill bit is straight. Number two, you're drilling to the correct depth. So again, just a quick check. All right, we're all good. So now, line up my workpiece. I'll line up my center hole. Hit start. And now I'm just going to proceed to drill all these holes. Shake out the chips, and you can use a presser to just clean it up. Now one thing I'm just going to go back and do real quick is I'm actually going to do a through hole in my center. So I want that hole to go all the way through my piece. So if I just test it right here. Perfect. So I'm just going to go back and re-drill that center one real quick. And what I can do is I can center it here. All right. Power it up. Go all the way down. There you go. do is I'm going to take this bolt, I'm going to polish it up like this on my wire wheel, and then once I've cut the threads and the top of it off, I'm going to go to my belt grinder over here and grind a taper on it so it slides in and out of the hole a lot easier. So, let's do it. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to cut a rabbet on the outside edge here so that I can put my bar clamp on the outside edge and clamp it down to my work surface. So I snip the blade so it's just cutting to the first piece of material, and it's roughly about 3/4 of an inch, all right, which is ideal for what I'm trying to do. Fun project. So next time, the next video I'm going to try to post is how to use this scroll jig to make various different types of patterns and or hooks to use throughout your shop and or your house. Alright, so don't forget to subscribe, and thank you for watching Bear Claw Custom Carpentry. Have a great one.